check this out. Remote start from 80 feet away. And it's only 64 decibels when it's running. But not only that, remote turn off as well. That's pretty sweet. This is a brand new unit from Champion. And of course it's a sunny day, but today is the day that you want to check, hey, how does this work? How would this power my house in an outage? This isn't the time to do it if it's storming out and you need it that minute to power your house. The build show today, we're going to give you a full review on this unit. There's a couple features here that I think are pretty impressive for both power outage at home, for use at the job site, and for use at play, especially the RV world that my buddy Tim and I play in. But we're going to go through some features on this thing that I think you're going to really like. But no matter whether you choose this one or another generator, we're going to tell you what to look for and what are the specs that really mean something for me when I'm shopping for that kind of tri-usage machine that can do a little bit of everything. Today's build show is sponsored by Champion Power Equipment. Let's get going. All right, y'all, you've probably met Tim Hill, my business partner at Reisinger Build. Tim is my little junior electrician, and I love bringing him on when we're talking nerdy stuff. So Tim, first off, when I see this as an 11,000 watt generator, what does that really mean? What are the specs I need to know?
Well, 11,000 watts is what it will withstand a surge of power draw.
Yep.
Actually, the running power is generally 2,000 to 3,000 watts less than the rated.
So this model on gasoline is actually 9,000 watts running, and pretty close to that on propane too?
Right. I think propane has a higher capacity of output than natural gas does. The gasoline probably even has a higher than that.
Yeah. But then this one has a really cool trick. It'll run on gasoline, on propane, or
natural gas.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Especially in a situation like this where we're thinking about, hey, when the storm comes, how do we power my house? Now, this particular model has a couple features I like. First off, a really big, like 6-gallon gas tank. So at 25% load, I believe, Tim, this will run about 15 hours.
That sounds about right.
So well overnight, assuming it's not running at full speed, right? 25% load.
Right.
But if I were to hook this up to a natural gas line, I could run it, you know, in perpetuity, supposedly, right?
Right. As long as you have natural gas at your house, it'll run.
That's pretty awesome. Now tell me about the plug situation here, because Tim and I both have RVs. We have job site needs for a unit like this. So let's talk about how we could use this first off on a backup for your house.
Most high capacity generators have multiple plugs on the interface.
Yep.
Generally the highest capacity of all those plugs will be a 50 amp NEMA rated plug.
Okay.
However, most generators don't set it up on a 50 amp circuit. They're generally a 35 to 38 amp circuit on a 50 amp NEMA receptacle.
And that's what this one is here on the 50
That's right.
amp.
That's his highest capacity interface.
Yep.
It also steps down to a 220 volt 30 amp interface, a twist lock, and that's what you would normally use for most smaller two-pole applications.
And that's what you've got at your house here.
That's right.
This one is the plug-in for your inlet in your house. And so this 30 amp plug you're going to use for your 120 circuits on your house, right?
That's right. That's right. In most residential environments, 30 amps is a lot. Unless you're running air conditioning equipment or electric ovens or electric cooktops, most 110 circuits for lighting or for plugs or fans, that's generally enough, especially during nighttime when you need backup power the most.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, you and I both have Lance campers that take a 30 amp 120, and this doesn't have an actual plug for 30 amp 120. Could we use this to run our Lances?
Sure you can. You'd need an adapter like this one that would convert the NEMA 50 to a 30 amp plug-in RV plug.
So help me understand what these different poles do on a 50 amp 220 type plug-in like we've got here.
Well, the 50 amp, what we in our residential industry call a range plug, used for electric ranges, has 4 prongs. One is ground, one is neutral, and then there are 2 hots.
Okay.
The 2 hots always make up a 240 circuit.
Gotcha.
Right? And so it would convert it to a 110, which would be the ground, a neutral, and a hot, by just connecting to one of the hot sides.
Gotcha.
Right. And so we don't know what's going on internally, but one of these, the hot, is connected to either this one or this one.
So in other words, we could still plug this into our 30 amp 120 camper plug to power our camper.
Right.
Now, one thing I want to talk about, Tim, which I think is really important though, is that surge of power that a lot of devices like air conditioners pull when they run. So this one can handle up to 11,000 watts in that rush and that surge.
Right.
I got a soft start from my camper. I just have a Coleman AC on the top, and I got a micro air from Hutch Mountain, and it's really just a capacitor that drops the surge amount.
Right.
How does that help this generator to run my camper?
It ramps up at a slower rate the current draw when a motor kicks on. And so the capacitor absorbs most of that initial energy and then releases it to the motor in a slower rate.
Gotcha.
And so effectively it's not overdrawing current from the generator all at one time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Got it. And you could even add a soft start to a house. So in effect, I could run, let's say, a house AC on a generator like this too, couldn't I?
Yes.
If I had a soft start, or
right.
let's say an inverter-driven motor on the outside.
Right. You're limited by the current capacity of the plugs themselves. And so assuming in a residential home, the air conditioning compressor unit or condensing unit that you have, when it turns on, it's going to draw 15 to 20 amps at least.
Right. For sure.
And so you're nearing capacity of one of your twist lock plugs on this unit. But if that's all that you had running, it wouldn't have any trouble with it at all.
You'd be fine.
Right.
It's if you have multiple devices running.
Right. A few lighting circuits and your AC circuit, you're probably okay.
Now, if you and I upgrade to the Airstreams we've been looking at that have 2 air conditioners, then we have a plug that looks like this to plug in for shore power, right?
Right. We have a full 240 volt wired RV in that case. So in that case, I suspect there's still 110 AC units, but one AC unit would be wired to one leg of the circuit. The other would be wired to the other leg of the circuit.
Got it.
So you're still within the capacity of the plug, the 50 amps.
And then we could plug right into this guy for shore power wherever we are.
Right.
That's pretty nice. And
That's
it's got plenty of capacity to do that as well. Now, Tim, this unit has a spec that says it gives clean power for electronics, less than 3% THD. What does that mean for us as builders or as campers or job site use?
Right. Well, electric generation is very much like radio frequency generation, in that it's transmitted in a sine wave. And artificially generated power, like inverters, for example, sometimes don't create pure sine wave and can be damaging to electronics. Most of the higher end ones are better at that. Generators also have to clean that power up by making sure that sine wave is as close to perfect as possible, so that whatever electronics are being fed by it have the cleanest power that they can, and that's what this generator, it does a really great job of.
Yeah, it's at 3% or less. The stat I saw that you want to look for is 5% or less, so this one's even better. Which, crazy enough, there's a use case for this where you might actually use this to recharge your EV. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
And you'd want that clean power if you were charging your EV, just like if you were charging your Mac laptop.
Right.
Pretty smart. Tim, thanks for giving us a tour. I think you are ready for the next loss here, although I'm going to suggest we get a natural gas line rather than that propane tank. It would sure be nice to go forever. Last thing to mention too, this is a brand new unit. Don't forget, when you get a brand new unit, you normally, when you buy a Champion, need to run it for like 5 to 10 hours and do an oil change, and then you're good for like 50 or 100 hours, depending on the model. So remember, you got to do that oil change early. And lastly, on this thing, I want to mention it has the CO2 shield. Never run one of these in your garage. Don't be dumb. It needs to be outdoors like this. But this does have a built-in, if it thinks that there's a buildup of CO2 gas around it, it will auto shut off. But let's be smart and make sure we run our generators outdoors like this. Champion, for many of their models, has like tents you can use. So if the weather's really bad, we can put a tent over this thing to make sure it's still getting airflow, but it keeps the rain off it. That being said, I'm going out to the job site to see how our framers are using this. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
You bet.
I'll see you out at the job. Hey, Chewy, you mind killing the generator? Ah, that remote start, remote stop, isn't that nice on a job site? Now we're in framing on a Reisinger build job, and my city meter is not on yet on my temporary power. So it's really nice to be able to run that Champion generator out from the back of the truck, power up the whole job site. The other thing in particular I like about it, it's got that 50 amp plug, and I've got a spider box with a big long SO cord. So all the guys in the center of the house are running sanders off that SO cord and that 50 amp. Plus I've got a generator, I've got saws going. This has the power to make it happen for us on the job site. Plus when break time's over and Matt leaves, all Chewy needs to do on that remote, boom, fire it back up and ready to go. Guys, big thanks to Champion for sponsoring today's video. They make fabulous equipment. They've been a sponsor of ours for many years now. I've had really good reliability. I've never once had a problem with their equipment. And the other thing I think Champion does right is they're really a good value. You get a lot for the price point when you buy one of their pieces of equipment. I'll put a link to this particular unit in the description below. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a brand new subscriber. We publish every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Otherwise, I'll see you next time on The Build Show.